Hi, beautiful ones, beautiful beings in brilliant bodies. Coming to you real quick to share about this practice that a lot of people work with me to learn so that they can get out of pain and into the best shape of their lives. And by shape, I don't just mean building muscles, I mean the actual shape that we make, the way that we hold our bodies. So I like to say the shapes that we make shape our lives. And it's very physical and very literal what I'm talking about here today. And I would just like to briefly share what this practice is that I've been teaching for 7 years, 8 years, something like that. I have a lot of testimonials from my students and my private clients, and there's something really exciting coming up for June, but we'll get to that in a moment. First, why should you care? Because there's all these other great practices out there already, right? There's already the way that yoga is taught in the modern world is as a physical mat practice. I know that the true yogis in the room get that yoga is a way of life that encompasses 8 different principles known as the limbs of yoga, and the physical mat practice is only one of them. And in the ancient scriptures, in the ancient texts, there's actually not a prescribed way that that mat physical practice needs to look like. So another modern kind of interpretation of what we think yoga is, most people just think of it as the shapes that we so commonly see on a mat. And so why is this practice called Bowspring? I like to refer to it as Primal Movement Medicine. That gives you a little clue as to what it is and how it feels. Why is this so different from the modern way of teaching the physical yoga aspect, and why? And why is this particular practice called Bowspring? Why is it so effective at quickly, efficiently, and permanently removing pain, tension, stress, misalignments? So it could be joint pain, it could be muscle pain, it could be inflammation, it could be fascia tension, nerve pain. Even I've had success even with that, which I wasn't sure when people first came to me with nerve pain. I was not sure if this could help, but let's find out. So whatever type of pain you're in, this is worth learning about. So pay attention, because again, the shapes that we make shape our lives quite literally and quite physically. Actually, the most famous TED Talk out there in the TED Talk series is about this. Not this practice that I teach, but it's about the shapes that we make that do shape our lives, including the first impressions of other people that we meet along the way. So they call it power posing in that context, and it's like making postures that are big and wide and open and uplifted. And even just holding these power poses for 2 minutes will affect how other people see you, even when you're out of the pose later. So think of this primal movement medicine that I teach and that other people who have Bowspring in their world teach also. Think of it as power posing, but on quantum level, way more powerful, because this is literally aligning our whole system in new directionalities in the way that we just naturally hold our bodies. So to focus more on the actual alignment, because the 4-part series that's coming up in June is going to go through 4 very important aspects of this practice that will show you and give you the best, fastest results. And the first out of the series is the posture itself, learning how the orientation where we put our ribs, our head, our hips, our legs, our knees, elbows, the way that we're positioning ourselves in space, whether it's in a resting position or an active position, is going to literally change everything about how our body functions, including optimal breath, which is up there at the very top of importance in terms of improving our health. If our lung capacity is expanded naturally without effort, then we get more oxygen and everything else in the body happens better. Our skin improves, our inner organs work better. We just have, everyone knows, if you can increase your oxygenation and your breathing, everything else happens better, including the nervous system. Everybody these days needs a nervous system reset. Well, I've got the fast track for you. And it all starts at the beginning with the actual shape that we're making. So the big time coaches like Tony Robbins know this, that when you put yourself in state, in a position, in a physical reality where you're feeling better, then your emotions and your thoughts and your beliefs and the rest of your life tend to follow that physical positioning. So we do this quite literally and quite physically on the mat, where we begin to position ourselves differently from how we were taught in the past. So when most of us were taught good posture as children, or any time in life, we were taught to sit up straight, stand up straight, make your spine straight, and that's considered good posture, even now, in a lot of the current ways that people teach movement, especially modern style yoga. And the challenge about that, though, is that we have to hold our spine straight, which means we're actually creating tension in the process. I used to be really good at making my spine straight. I also had lots of back pain. I had neck pain, upper back pain, mid back pain, and especially low back pain. But I was able to put myself in a straight posture. I was also really good at yoga, modern style yogas, hatha vinyasa, kundalini, iyengar, quite a few of them. I got pretty good at them, but my back pain never went away. It was really frustrating. And so in order to hold ourselves into a straight spine, we have to push the thoracic spine forward. We have to push the middle of the throat back, and usually that's done by chin tucking and pushing in there. And we have to tuck the tail underneath us to straighten the lumbar spine. Now, it might look aesthetically pleasing because we've been taught to appreciate a straight linear alignment. However, in the long term, because our lives are in movement, we don't live in a static world, and it doesn't help us out at all, actually. So when we pull ourselves back and get into a larger view of the primordial design of our spine, it's actually formed in a mature person, in an adult, it's formed as a double S curve. And so the back of the skull, as we know, we live in a dome here in the head. The back of the skull is meant to move back, and the chin is meant to be lifted to lengthen the front of the throat. The thoracic spine is meant to curve back, and the lumbar spine naturally just curves forward. And I can tell you, as someone who had lifelong chronic low back pain, it was only when I finally gave myself permission through the guidance of my trusted teachers to untuck my tail. Finally, I was able to just let my spine do what it naturally wanted to do. And then we did other things too. It's not just the spinal alignment. But like I said, the first part in this 4-part series is about primal posture. And so we learn to orient our anatomy into these directionalities in order to find more ease in our lives by embracing this double S curve, by embracing the radial expansion of the ribs, shoulders sliding wide instead of pinning backwards into the backward directionality. Yeah, we find more freedom. Hi, Paris. Paris, I love you so much. She's actually the one who introduced me to this practice that I'll be sharing in this 4-part series in June. So I'm eternally grateful to Paris and all of my other teachers, including Tara, Alicia, so many, and of course Desi Springer, who is the founder and the innovator of this system, this method, this recipe, this algorithm, this fun way of living that we get to live in once we learn these different pieces. So in this first part, next Sunday, June 7th, that's where we're going to go through the primal posture, which is the alignment. So of course, we don't want to be crunched forward in the C curve, or what I call the human cashew, where it's just a full C around the back and short front body. That's what we see most commonly, unfortunately, in our modern world. We don't want to live there. However, when we force ourselves into straightness, that creates more overworking and tension than we need as well. And so we're not at the same, and then on the other side, on the farther extreme, we're not just like thrusting the front body open and just collapsing in the back curves, because obviously we don't want to kink the spine either. We work primarily, in fact, the 0 point of this method is central channel, where we lengthen, 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 but that doesn't have to mean straighten. We allow for flexibility, we allow for the curvature. And by the way, those of you who love to watch sports, take a look at your favorite athletes next time in relation to this tail tucking under versus tail being untucked. And you'll find that your favorite athletes actually have lifted bums and bent legs and an untucked tail, because they have to move in a very primal way, in an efficient way, in a functional way, to get around. This obsession with a straight spine and a tucked under tail is harming bodies, to put it frankly. And real quick before I go, the difference I would like to point out, because this is often a question, like, we already have yoga the way that it's taught, and it's already so popular, and so why would we bother to learn something totally new and different and unfamiliar? And maybe it's a risk. I don't want to try this new alignment because, like, if you're like me and you were injured and you were dealing with a lot of back pain, you probably don't want to put yourself in a situation where you might injure yourself even more, and then you have to do more recovery, spend more money on chiropractors and on manual therapy of some kind. It's expensive to be injured and to be in pain. So I have good news for you though. The reason why it is worth it for you to learn this new method that differs from yoga in the sense that it's not linear and it's not static. It's curvy and it's dynamic. And the reason why you would learn this is so that you have within yourself the resources to get yourself out of pain and out of stress when those things do happen, because they will, because life is stressful and shitty things happen and unfortunate things happen and emotions happen, and we get stressed and we have to force ourselves to sit in a plane seat sometimes, or at a desk, or we've just moved house and carried heavy stuff, or whatever it is. There's going to be times where we feel, oh, there's areas of our bodies that are overworking, and then there are areas of the body that are underworking. And in this system called Bowspring, this method, this Primal Movement Medicine, we work to even out all the soft tissues so that all of the muscles are toned evenly, so that the places that are overworking and feeling tense and sore, those places can chill out. And then the places that have been asleep and not working for way too long, they can light up and they can help us carry our body weight in an easeful, dynamic, fun, opening, powerful way. And what's beautiful, what's one of my favorite things about teaching this method is watching people's form, their physical appearance and structure and shape change within instants, within less than a minute, as I'm guiding and cueing people into this alignment structure, this way of orienting our anatomy in space. The entire shape transforms. And this is before the people have practice under their belt and start to build the correct muscle groups in the right way, which add, of course, to the shape. We all know building your muscles is going to build your shape in a more pleasing way. However, even before that starts to happen, which of course takes time and practice, what's really cool is that people just look healthier, they look longer, they look happier, they look more lifted, more proportional in their physical body features. It's really cool. So come join me on Sunday, June 7th for the first part of this series, and you'll get to experience that for yourself. You'll get to see, you can watch it in your own mirror in real time, how orienting yourself in this primal posture creates just a more pleasing shape. You're going to love how you fit in clothes, and it just goes to show how powerful posture really, really is. So let's explore that together. There's a link pinned here in the comments. You can check out the 4-part series. You can DM me, ask me any questions. If you're injured, I welcome questions. If you're concerned, I welcome questions. If you're experienced, if you're an athlete, if you're a yogi, if you're a dancer, I welcome questions. Is this going to be too easy for you? And then on the other side, if you're really a beginner and you haven't been like working out maybe because of pain or injury, feel free to DM me and ask if I'll give you my honest opinion, if my honest professional experienced opinion on whether or not I think this could be a good fit for you. I have a pretty fucking phenomenal track record, actually, if I do say so myself. I have worked with people who were injured in the ways that I was, or in totally different ways that I didn't know about. And so far, everyone has felt better when they're doing this the way that it's taught and in a way that meets their body where they're at. So we work with the body, not on the body. We work with where we're at rather than trying to get somewhere else. And in this way, it's always therapeutic. There's no more injury caused, and there's no recovery time afterwards, unlike a lot of other types of workouts and things like that. So thank you, friends, for joining me for this little live. This is so cool. I am super excited. We're finishing up the group program called Body Revolution. We're just finishing up. Today is our last day. And now moving forward into June, there's this 4-part workshop series where we're going to get to deep dive. It's going to be beginner friendly, athlete, experienced mover friendly. Everybody's welcome. And it's going to be so fun because you're going to be more skilled and have more ease and grace and general happiness and health as you take these things from these workshops into your life and into what you love to do. It's called Shape Your Summer. The link is right here in the comments. And the first one, we kick off with this actual alignment, where we're putting our ribs, how we're orienting our shoulders, where our head is meant to be in space so that it feels weightless, and where our hips go compared to our knees, and how we work with our feet, and all of that. It feels amazing. I didn't talk about that part enough, but the actual practice in itself, even though it's a steep learning curve, feels so good. And this is our guide in the practice. It's our guidance system. Pleasure, enjoyment, bliss, relief. If we were in pain, it feels like relief. And then the bliss and the ecstasy and all that comes later, I promise, if you stick with it. So thank you, everyone, for joining live. Drop your comments below. If you're catching this on the replay, drop your comments below. Let me know where you live, what's going on with your body, what type of movement practice you have, what you learned about posture growing up, what you feel is correct about posture right now. And if you're curious to check out this primal, dynamic, moving style of poses. So when we practice on the mat, we get into the posture and then we pulse with it. So the pulse is the primordial movement of all life on earth. It's the first movement style that we ever learned even in the womb with our heartbeat and our mother's heartbeat. It's the pulse. And so we never try to just stay in one shape and hold it there like how we do in yoga. We'll get into, like, say, triangle pose and we just hold it and breathe. No, in this we're expanding from the inside out. There's extension happening in all directions, and at the same time there's this beautiful tone, this beautiful hug that starts to happen all the way around. And by the way, before I log off here, because I'm going to go live on Instagram feel free to follow me over there at Guita Wata. I'll drop that in the comments later, or you can follow me over there. I'm going to go live there to talk about this too. So, but coming up, so June 7th is going to be Primal Posture. Discover your most proportional shape by simply adjusting the directionalities of the spine, joints, and head, and all the other rest of our bodies. We're going to open up the breath, enjoy a longer form, a longer waist, and just feel more grounded and powerful. Workshop 2, the next Sunday after that, is called Rise and Release. We're going to focus on freeing up the neck and shoulders, specifically from accumulated tension, and we're going to leave feeling happier, lighter, with expanded breath. This is a required life skill to be able to release the neck and shoulders on our own. Yes, massage is great. Yes, there's other hands-on therapists that are great. However, wouldn't it be cool if we knew exactly what to do to just get out of that and to feel free and light again? And then workshop number 3 is probably my most popular workshop that I've done over the years. It's called Booty Boost. So lifted, rounder bum, and this brings more ease to life. I could say a lot about that, but that's coming up on week 3 in June. And then workshop 4 is long, strong waist, lengthening, toning. It's like building an anatomical, natural corset by working with this movement. So that's that. Thank you again, everybody, for tuning in, for being here, sending you so much love. DM, send a comment, check out the link, talk to me, let's engage, stay human, giving you big love.